Yeah. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on our very first beer and chips review. The first game we're actually going to do is called Skull Tales by Eclipse Editorial. They're actually a Spanish company, so I guess it kind of fits since it's a pirate-themed game set in, kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean universe, I guess, or something similar. Just to let you guys know, though, if you do really like this video, I definitely appreciate it. If you like, subscribe, share, and definitely leave us a comment. I love constructive criticism, so I know what to do better. Also, down below. And then I just want to go ahead and introduce my two cohorts, because if you've seen my other videos, you've seen me do unboxings, but this is my first one to branch out from unboxings. And my cohort to my left is
Ducky.
And my cohort to my right?
I'm David.
And we're going to go ahead and proceed with really just our thoughts and our likes and dislikes on the game. I don't want to give like a numbered review because I play a lot of games I like, but I've never played a perfect game. So there's always things that we can nitpick about it, and that's kind of what we're here to do is kind of glorify what we like, nitpick what we don't like, so that you might have an idea if you want to buy the game or not, if you haven't already tried it, or if you want to try it with some friends. That being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. This is, like I said, Skull Tales. It is played in 3 main phases, which is the adventure phase, which we have set out here for you to look at. Then there is the, what was it again, Ducky?
The Voyage phase.
The Voyage phase, thank you. Voyage phase and the port phase. So we're going to show you this real quick. I'm going to go over, we're going to talk about what we like, and then we'll move on to the others. Overall, though, I do love this game. It's an RPG in a box, so if you know what that means, you have your character sheets, you have your, you actually have a sheet you get to write on to keep track of like your money and your experience in this game. It's called Prestige, and you get to spend that to gain new skills between games and stuff like that. But it's a more interesting method than than other RPGs in a box. I really enjoy all that kind of stuff, and honestly, ultimately, what are your thoughts on kind of the overall adventure phase?
Definitely, it has a great character selection. There's a great enemy appearances. Every mission we have different new enemies appearing. Sometimes you're attacked by a giant spider. Sometimes you're ganged by wild monkeys. It has a lot of thrill and adventure and excitement. The dungeon crawling, the map building, kind of map crawler, dungeon crawler feel is very enjoyable.
What about you?
There's not much I can add on to it. I love it. It's probably my favorite phase out of all 3 for many reasons. Very fun. It can be challenging, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But it is. I would only say there's a few things wrong, but it's great. It's great.
So to get more into detail, so the adventure phase, basically you have your little squares. You actually discover new tiles randomly, so each time you play, even if you play the same scenario twice, it's not always going to be laid out the exact same way. So of course you've got your enemies, your characters, your loot, your, of course, dice, obviously your gold doubloons that you earn, stuff like that. So I'd have to say probably the only thing that I really don't like about the adventure phase is, again, the number system to a degree, because if you're going against an enemy, you take like your number of dice on your sheet that says, oh, I need this many dice because I'm doing melee, and I have to go against like their agility number. Well, their agility number is the number you have to beat, so you have to actually roll higher than it. So it gets a little confusing at times, because anytime you do a test in this game or a combat, you have to roll higher than the number that it says. Whereas in most other games I've played, it's always like a roll this or higher. So it's kind of frustrating when it says roll a test of this 4, and then you're like, okay, so I actually have to roll a 5 or a 6. And it just sometimes can be confusing to remember that. When you're rolling dice. And then the other thing is, it's really annoying when your opponent's on a hot streak, and since your opponent is the game, but your friends are the ones rolling the dice, it really sucks when they just can't roll below a 5.
We've had several times where I've been the bad guy and I've rolled a few 6s, and Chris has rolled very poorly.
Which I usually
every time.
Every time.
That's how I play games. So, what do you not like about the adventure phase? If there's really anything that you don't like.
So there's a couple different things that I think could improve. One of which is the power of the enemies is very dependent on die rolling. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that several times last time we played, one of our characters died literally in one attack from an enemy.
Okay.
Now, given the reverse is also true. There have been times when we killed enemies in one attack.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very hit or miss. It's all about the luck of the die roll. I also think the line of sight system is very interesting because unlike other games that are base to base or mid to middle, this game is corner to middle, which gives you an advantage because technically you can shoot from beyond a corner, but you can't move beyond that corner. You'd have to move orthogonally around it.
Okay. I mean, that's definitely a true criticism. It can be wonky to try to figure that out, and it kind of pads the length of the game as you're trying to figure out, can you see this target or not? So what about you? What do you know?
I definitely agree. The line of sight is a bit tricky to get a handle on, but and also I'd say that the enemy power is also definitely variable on the dice rolls, and also how many people you have. I think it's three people or under, you'll have the basic enemy, but if you get 4 or 5 like we do now, the enemies are going to be a lot harder. So last game we got our butts handed to us multiple times because Mr. Cannibal had poison instead of just normal bows and arrows.
Right, so basically doing more damage.
Right.
Doing more damage, and the problem is our characters don't get the benefit of having more hit points because there's more of us. It just means that the enemies just hit harder.
And since we just started off, getting some of these enemies are very tough for our level or how many skills we have and how far we are in the game.
Okay.
But that's not so much as a criticism as it's just kind of there.
So that being said, with the adventure phase, to give you kind of a quick overview, because I know it's kind of late into there, but so basically how it works is, you start in this area and then you explore out, and you have this little tracker here that kind of shows that when bad things happen, you have to move the pirate flag, and if it gets to the end, your scenario is just done. And then also your difficulty tracker, which basically gives you a chart that when the enemies show up, how many, what type. And then you have your, like random thing that you can find if you're searching, and random bad thing that happens if you're basically lollygagging, not doing anything. And so, and there's a goal to complete. And like right now, we're still trying to find a treasure map, pieces of a treasure map of our poor captain who's died. Spoiler alert if you haven't played already, but we have only played through the 4th scenario. So, other than that, I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot to be said more about the adventure phase. If you've played an RPG in a box, like one of the D&D RPGs in a box, like Temple of Elemental Evils or something like that, you're going to kind of get the same feel of understanding of the, flip over new tile, roll to see what enemies show up, and then see where they show up, so that you and that's what you have to fight in that room. That's definitely going to seem very familiar. I mean, have you guys played any other RPGs in a box?
Not really. I'm more of a D&D guy.
Okay. I've played a few. I've actually played a D&D RPG in the box called Castle Ravenloft.
Okay, that was kind of...
Which is very similar to this layout.
So if you've played RPGs in a box, then you're going to know exactly how that feels. So that being said, though, the other 2 phases of this game really do add a lot to this game and really make it feel piratey. And that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on to what we're going to set up and show you what that looks like and talk about it. Thank you. We'll see you in a second. Okay guys, so we've paused for a second, but now we've set it up with the Voyage phase on the table. If you notice, there's multiple different boards, a nice ocean over here. Of course, there's still dice, there's still doubloons, there's still pirates, but now there's ships, and there's still our character sheets and our prestige and all that. But I have actually played this a couple of times, but the one who really learned how to play it the best, because he's the one who actually trudged through the rules to get it, was our indomitable friend here, Ducky. So I'm going to defer to him to kind of give you an overview of what the phase is, so you can see how it's different from the adventure phase. And Ducky.
So this game has a lot of different elements to the Voyage phase. As you can see, we're using several different maps and cards and pieces. This one right here is the ocean map, where we actually have our pirate ship sailing. This is the Voyage phase. The Voyage phase is actually the point of view from sailing on the ocean in the pirate ship. So we can encounter several different foes, such as pirate ships, ghost ships, whales, whirlpools, krakens, merchant ships, and we're reaching a specific goal, but we don't know which island it's on. Over here, you see our stations board, where you can see the different stations that are on the ship, and every station has its role in the voyage. You might be driving the helm, you might be in the crow's nest, you might be manning the cannons, you might be manning the sails. This also introduces the group of pirates token, which is specific only to the Voyage phase. The group of pirates is a small group of pirates that can work a different station for you, because there are too many stations for just a 5-player game to operate the whole ship. This board right here is the boarding combat board. This is only used when you're side by side with another ship that we're trying to attack. It also has different stations like gunning and swinging on the rope across. This board right here is our crew trust and our morale. If your morale's too low, someone might mutiny you. I don't know who would do that to the captain.
I'm not saying that I'm now the captain, but I'm saying I am the captain now, and I might have not started as the captain.
You are the captain.
But I am the captain now.
And that's why he gets to be in charge of the ship now. There you go. Have fun.
Yeah.
The captaincy is all yours. The captaincy is actually a lot of responsibility in this phase. The captain is in charge of pointing the ship in the right direction. And the ships do not move orthogonally. They actually have to turn realistically like a ship. So I like that about the game. And also each of the characters has a special ability that is only used in the Voyage phase.
Like being the Dread Pirate Roberts character, my character actually gets to pick any of the other people that I'm playing with, and I copy their ability. So what makes me really advantageous is if he's really good at, let's say, he's trying to repel boarders and he's great at melee combat, but he's also a good gunner on the ship, I might be terrible at repelling boarders, but hey, slam me on that gun. Or something like that, because I can just copy his ability. But what do you like about this, especially that makes it different from the adventure phase?
I like the uniqueness of the stations the most, because it really pulls out the strength of intelligence and perception-based characters. Because a lot of time in the exploration phase, the melee combat characters get a lot more spotlight. Mm-hmm. But in this phase, like for example, I play Calypso the Sea Witch. My strength is intelligence and perception, so I can use the crow's nest to spot our goal from far away, or I can use the cartography action to make an actual treasure map to our goal, our location that we're trying to find. So I like how it balances the different strengths between fighters and mages and support characters.
And what do you like? That's different, you know?
I love the fact that it's not just the adventure phase copy and pasted. There's a lot of things that are different. You got boarding, now you've got ship sailing, and it's not just, oh, I'm here, suddenly enemies. It's like, oh, the enemy's over there, I'm over here, my goal's over there, how am I going to do this? And I also like that each person has, like Ducky said, each person kind of has their own role. For example, I play Sea Dog, so I get +1 for being at the helm, so we get to move further. You get to copy a skill. You can do cartography, so everybody has something they can do. So, like Ducky said, and I cannot stress this enough: if you were not good in the adventure phase, you will be perfect here because you'll actually have something that can benefit all of us.
And I agree with both of you on that. One of the things that, if you guys do play this game, one of the things I really loved about the I can't remember the name of this phase. Voyage phase. There we go. The Voyage phase is that it doesn't feel like it's just a second part of the adventure phase. It feels like a completely different game. Like we are on the ocean. We're trying to either avoid or capture ships. We're trying to go to different islands and find treasure. Sometimes we'll literally be like trying to get next to the islands so bad things don't happen in the water. I like the fact that we're using this big board, and the board is essentially the same every time because the islands don't move. So we know the islands, but our goals and objectives change and move every time we play. And the fact is, like, my abilities, like, to be honest, the Dread Pirate Roberts, I'm a duelist and a rogue, so I'm really good at sword play. But on the ship, no, I have to copy somebody else's ability. So my ability changes every time I play. And being a good swordsman is useless when you're being attacked by a giant shark in the water, or you hit a big whirlpool. I have to find a way to be useful without it always just being stab something.
However, Calypso, the Sea Witch, can control the weather and the wind and help us escape these dangers faster.
I will say that one thing I do not like, we have obviously 2 other people. Our friend John, his character is basically good at gunning. Problem is,
really good.
The rest of us are a bit more, I wouldn't say that we've got more aptitude in other areas. I'm supposed to be driving, but we always need someone on the gun, and John happened to be regulated to that role, so he was kind of stuck there the entire Voyage phase, and it probably will happen again. So that's a bit of a... And
the problem there lies is we only had a couple of times we needed a gunner, so his turns pretty much consisted of pass.
That is a drawback to the game. Sometimes the stations are limited. Like even when I'm in the crow's nest, I can only spot a treasure when I'm 3 spaces or 4 spaces away from it. I can't spot it too far away, so there are limitations to the station.
There is some stagnation, but you've got all these characters, so there's bound to be some stagnation, so it's just completely overridden by the fact that each character has something special they can do that benefits the ship and the crew. So
All in all, what's really cool too, though, is the Voyage phase is directly tied into what you just did in the Adventure phase. But at the same time, which we'll get into in a minute with the Port phase, like since I'm the captain, I now have a special objective that I drew. It's random that I now need to complete during the Voyage phase. That objective has nothing to do with the Adventure phase or the Port phase. It has to do with specifically this phase. So I have something that I'm trying to get the ship to do, which if my crew doesn't like that, they might want to mutiny. And I mutinied because I just wanted to see how it worked. But it's pretty neat that it's got a mechanic that, even though having a captain doesn't really make a lot of difference in the Adventure phase, it makes a huge difference in the Voyage phase and the Port phase, which we're going to see here in a second. Outside of that, I guess the only complaint I really have about it, outside of what you guys have mentioned, is maybe that sometimes it can take a while to do stuff, because movement is done based on dice rolls. So even when you have sails, if you don't roll good enough, your ship can just be very slowly moving, and it can just arbitrarily make the game longer.
You're dependent on the winds.
Yes, which is cool. It's a good, very thematic element. But when you've already been playing for 2 and 3 hours, which this game can easily be 3 to 4 hours for one session, even longer, you can get to a point where you're just like, come on, let's go. I want to get moving, because our turn consisted of move 3 spots and then start over.
Right.
But that's a pretty small complaint, because that doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. Other than that, honestly, I think that's pretty much all I'm going to say for the Voyage phase. Now on to the Port phase, which is pretty much the easiest phase to go over. I'm not even going to change the table. You just use this board, and if you'll hand me those decks of cards there.
You want to set up the character things?
Yeah, so we use the board and our little things here, and we set them up like this. Yay, we have 20 points. Or no, we get, oh, that's right. And then our characters are in there. So we have, and I'm not going to show you all of them, there's about 6 decks like this that are events. And so what's really cool about the Port phase is it is what most RPGs in a box, like, for example, Gloomhaven or whatnot, or Castle Ravencroft and stuff, have, that will, it's kind of your cleanup, your gain experience, gain new abilities, buy stuff, go to shop, all that. And so this is what I really like about it, and what makes it different is I'm going to explain how it works, is that each person takes their turn based on how many time units they have left. So each person basically has 20 time units, and everything they do takes a time unit. And you actually have a chart, which I may not have out here, which is fine, but it shows you kind of like this, but it shows you all your time things that you can do. And so you will go to different locations, like you go to the port to get your pay, then you go to the tavern or the brothel or the church or the merchant area. And the thing is when you go there, you have like 4 or 5 different things you can do there. You're not just going to the merchant buying gear. You could go to the merchant and there's someone there who teaches you new skills. But that takes a lot of time units and money and all that to do that. And you only have so many to do. And every time you go to a new location, an event pops up. And it could affect everybody. Like all of a sudden there's now a torrential rainstorm. And now, even though Dagon's the one who drew it, now all of us are moving slower because it's downpouring. And so now we have less time to do the things we need to do. So, but this is kind of your, like I said, cleanup and level up area. But there's still stuff to do there, So Dagon, what do you like? I mean, I know gushed on it, but
it's not too much more to talk about. Honestly, I will say that experience in gold is very important, but it's not just this. If you've played like a video game, like give me all this experience, yay! And it's also not like D&D where you level up once you get to a certain point. It's you get a certain amount of experience, a certain amount of gold. You go to a certain place that has that certain trainer that you want, that has the skill that you want. If you've got basically enough experience in gold, you pay that, and then you get the skill. But it just takes a long time to get experience, so it's not just, you're not hoarding a bunch of skills, which is, I find, very nice.
Yes. And another thing is, like, these guys last time had plenty of time to do everything they wanted, and because I was an idiot and Mutiny became the captain, I had to spend half my time buying a ship, repairing our ship, selling our goods, and so a lot of my time was just spent at the port, like the whole time, just dealing with that, and then I barely had enough time to do one thing, and then we were off.
but he got a much bigger salary than the rest of us.
I did, yes. So what are your thoughts on the port
So-
phase as a phase by itself?
One of the most interesting things about this game that is unique from other RPG games that I've played is that in the port phase, each character can find their own individual side quests, which I think is so interesting, but it's a randomized side quest typically. The captain has his own specific side quests, which are the captain's orders, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's what they're called.
But other characters can go to the tavern, we can go to the brothel, and we can hear rumors, and we can achieve our own side quests that give us our own individual bonuses and penalties. I also like the way that there's a penalty if you don't get back to the ship before your 20 actions is up, because it really puts a sense of urgency on you as you're playing. Like, I really need to get here and buy this and get back without getting too drunk and without getting kicked out of the bar.
Yeah.
You know?
But at the same time, it's not this huge penalty where like, I don't want to do anything, got to get back to the ship.
Right.
It's just enough to push you forward, but not.
So it's
kick you.
easily the shortest phase of an adventure, but it is definitely one of the more crucial, and it's a lot more entertaining to do than just cash in my experience, cash in my gold, buy a new item, all right, on to the next adventure. That being said, though, as fun as this game is, there is one huge, glaring, horrible part about this game that makes it difficult, and that is this wonderful little rule book. I hate to say this, I'm going to defer to Ducky to talk about it for a minute, but it is probably one of, if not the worst written rule book I have ever seen in a board game. The typos, the just glaring omissions of information, the way it's organized. I mean, this is all like post-it notes from Ducky just trying to keep it organized. It's just, I mean, you talk about it. I know you had to watch videos and like...
So, the rulebook is full of good information. It's just not organized well. Which is why I went through and tried to organize it myself. The table of contents is very lacking, the index is lacking. The rulebook actually nowhere, it never truly describes just the flow of a regular turn. It's something you kind of just have to figure out, like, okay, do I roll now? Okay, do I pick up this card now? Like, nothing is very explicitly clear and specific and detailed on the flow of gameplay. There's plenty of information though. This character can do this, you have all your character skills you can gain, all the items you can buy. It has lots of good detailed stuff in it, but it does not describe the gameplay flow very well. And so it was something we almost had to figure it out. Sometimes I wonder, are we even playing this right? Like, I had to watch several videos, had to do research on just how to play the game because the rule book was so lacking. And the typos, don't even get me started. It'll be like, number 1 is ship sails, and you go over here, it's number 7, and you're like, you gotta reread the whole page 3 times, you're like, wait a minute, what? It's a mess. But it was translated from Spanish.
It was,
correct?
it was, yes. From Spain too, not, it's actually it's a Spanish company, so I'll give it a little bit for that, but I've also played a lot of games because this is a Kickstarter that I've backed on Kickstarter that are from other countries like Poland and Germany, and their rule books are not even close to as written as badly as this one. Most of them are actually translated very well. Overall though, as I guess an ending thing, honestly, I highly recommend this game. If you like pirates, if you love the Pirates movies, if you something like that, this is well worth your time if you can find it on. I don't think it's got store copies. I'm not sure. Mine was the 2nd edition on Kickstarter, so I'm sure you can find it out there. The miniatures are pretty cool. They're not like cool mini or not level detail, but the game isn't also as expensive. I think I spent about $150 on it, and it came with like the big mega expansion in the main game. But honestly, I can't recommend it highly enough. Every phase of this game is like, oh look, here's an RPG in a box, but instead of me going, oh look, it's just the same thing I've played before, it's like, look at all these different elements that they've changed or added. Yes, the rulebook is horrible. Yes, there's still some stuff I don't like about each phase of the game, but at the end of the day, every time we sit around and play the game, it's like 5 hours just disappear because we're having so much fun. It's like we start at 8 and we're like, we want to stop at 1, and I'm like, well, we should be stopping in a couple hours, and I realize it's 2 in the morning. Because we've been playing for 6 hours and we don't even realize it. What about you? What are your final thoughts?
I have to say, overall, I really enjoyed the game. It took some definite investment in time to get it started, but now that we've kind of gotten the flow of it, We really enjoy it. I mean, you just have a beer, we really get in character.
We listen to pirate music because we have to.
Pirate metal.
Yeah. Well, what about your final thoughts, Megan? I know we've let you talk a lot today, so.
I gotta say, just the entire aesthetic of it is just greatly pleasing. I grew up with pirates. I love pirate stuff, so then this is just kind of like an homage, and it just feels great. It's a great game. Like you said, there are some problems, but it's not much to say other than it's a good game. If you like pirates, you'll love it. It's simple as that.
Okay. Well, guys, just to let you know again, I mean, I don't mean to beg, but like, share, subscribe, comment below, let me know what your thoughts are. This is my first video. Give me some tips. You know, please don't be too harsh. None of us have done this before.
Do it.
You know, but crush us, do it. You know, I do respond to comments if I have time. Other than that, hopefully we'll see you guys on more reviews for Beer and Chips brought to you by Infinity Flux. You guys have a great day. See you next time.